This conference will now be recorded.
Um, for those of you who were on last Wednesday, this is pretty much the same presentation that we did on the 17th, and we only give continuing education once for these communities of practice. So if you've taken the class last week, it would be repetitive to be on today. You're welcome to be here and to listen and gain more knowledge, but it's not creditable towards your continuing education if you've already gotten credit for this class. Um, as I was just mentioning a few minutes ago, Kern Regional Center has started calling providers to set up times and dates to do the assessment to see if you are in compliance with home and community-based waiver services. What they intend to do is they will talk with you. They'll look at some of your like your program design, some other things. If you do have a staff in your facility, they'll want to talk to the staff, and indeed, they also would like to talk with some of the residents of your home if they are home at the time that they're doing their assessment. So it's a fairly comprehensive assessment. The tools that they will be using have been sent out. If anybody has not received them, we can make the copies available to you. Just get a hold of Valerie and we will provide you with the two tools that Kern Regional Center is using. They're using a virtual assessment that was done on a limited number of facilities back in 2001, and then also the form that you had to fill out in the summer of 2002, and some of you didn't get it done until early 2023 when the regional center started saying, hey, you got to get this finished up. So those are going to be what they're using. If you have the tool that you used this last year to that you completed to get um, in compliance, I would suggest you go back and review that and take a look and see what responses you had and make sure that you are indeed doing what you said you were going to be doing. What as you are aware, a memo did come out from the Department of Developmental Services specific to what happens in this process. Now, when Regional Center comes out to take a look at your facility to make sure that you are in compliance with the home and community based waiver, what they will be doing is they will be doing the assessment, as I mentioned, and in that assessment, they will be looking at your program design again, talking to your staff, talking to the clients, looking at the physical plant of your home, such as does the clients have privacy, locks on doors, etc. So there's a whole procedure that they will be following. If during that procedure they find that there is something that's not in compliance, there's a couple of different options that are available to them. Basically, they can give you sort of a fix-it ticket, kind of like if you get pulled over and you've got a tail light that's out, and the officer says to you, hey, just go over to the auto parts place and get a tail light and put it in, and that'll be fine. Um, and then you get it corrected, and then you show them documentation that you got it corrected, and you'll be fine. If it's a little bit more involved, they will probably give you a corrective action plan. A corrective action plan gives you 30 days in which to get the issue corrected. If any of you are interested, you can go to Title 17 of the California Code of Regulations, and in there they do spell out the different levels of corrective action that can be involved, and that's what they're following. They're following the Title 17 rules for that. If you get it corrected from the 30 days, then that's great. If you don't get it corrected, then they will turn up the volume on your facility in that they will, first of all, place you on non-referral. And yesterday at the vendor advisory committee, someone asked the question of if I have more than one program and they put me on non-referral, is that for all my programs? And no, it's just for the program that was not in compliance. So if you run a number of homes and they're each vendored separately, you're not going to be placed on non-referral for all of your homes. It'll be the home that is in not in compliance. The next step after that would be to advise your clients to let them know that you're not in compliance and that the regional center would be available to assist you in potentially finding a different placement. And then the next level up is that they will cut 50% of your funding. The home and community-based waiver is a federal program. This is money that's coming from the federal government through the CMS, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. And it's, in California's case, that's 50 cents on a dollar. So any consumer that you have in your facility who are on Medicaid waiver, that's the state of California is paying 50% of the cost of their care, and the federal government's paying 50. Well, if you're not in compliance with the federal rules, then you're not entitled to the federal reimbursement. So that means that, let's say, if you're getting $4,000 a month per resident in your home, just a round number, you would now be getting only $2,000 a month for your clients. You can be in that state for up to 4 months. And at the end of those, and during that period of time, if you do come into compliance, they will go back and retroactively give you back the money that they withheld. If you, at the end of 4 months, if you're still not in compliance, then they will move towards de-vendoring, taking away your vendorization, which would then, in essence, make it so that you could not have Kern Regional Center or other regional center clients in your home. So there's a whole process that's involved. One of the things that you should keep in mind during this process is that you have a right to appeal. So if the regional center comes out and says you're not in compliance and you have to do a corrective action plan, and you disagree with the fact that because you believe you are in compliance and you feel like that the person from the regional center may have misinterpreted the rules or applied them in a way that is not consistent with what should be, you can appeal to the director of the regional center. And I was asked at yesterday's vendor meeting to go over the appeals procedure. And so for those of you who take the webinar next week on the 31st, I added some slides to that that will specifically go over how you can appeal a regional center decision. You have 30 days to do that. If you don't do it in the 30 days, then it's considered to be in place and you don't have an appeals process at that point. So again, that's just a brief overview of how the process works. You will be getting calls from the regional center about doing the assessment. They have to have all 186 vendors who are under the home and community-based waiver assessed and evaluated by August 31st of 2024. So they're going to start the process now because that's 186 is a lot of vendors to have to go out and see. And so they've already started calling. And when on the call that I was involved with yesterday, Leslie said they've already scheduled about 8 or 9 assessments. So they are into the process now. And so taking classes like this and some of the other classes, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes here, are very helpful towards meeting those goals. Now, again, I just want to reiterate that for those of you who are on the community of practice last week, which is more set up for day and vocational services, this is very similar. Almost all the slides are identical. There's one or two that have been changed to focus more on residential, but because the rules are the same for both up to a point, but I wanted to have one that's more specific to residential. So that's the one today. If you did take the one last week and you're taking it again today, you're only given credit for the one class. And with that, we'll move on. Let's start the. Let's go ahead.
And then I'm just going to do a quick brief, just letting everyone know. Make sure that if you are here today in attendance with us, your name is on there. And I do have one person that's in here twice. So if someone else is on the other device, please change your name to it so we can make sure we account for you. Thank you.
Okay, just 1 second here. Let's share my screen. Is what's showing up on the screen, Valerie? Is it the health and safety community practices?
Yes, you got the health and safety community of practice. First
Yeah,
page.
it doesn't seem to want to move to the next slide. Let me see here what's going on. Somehow it's stuck. Please bear with me for a moment. Okay.
I can see your mouse moving around and you've got the health and safety community of practice.
Okay, yeah. So let me see if I can get it to go to the next slide. Okay, there we go. Now the next slide's up, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So now, as I oftentimes say, technology is great when it works, but when you have challenges, it's a whole other story. Okay. This is just a brief thing to make sure that everybody understands that continuing education credit for this class that's been approved by the Kern Regional Center for Continuing Education. But in order to do that, you must attend the entire webinar or the community of practice in this case to get the credit. You must identify yourself at the beginning of the presentation on the screen or in the chat so we know who you are. If you have more than one person from your facility on this webinar, community of practice, you need to identify each person who is on it so that we know that to give credit to other folks, because all we know is who we see on the screen. And then after this is over, you need to send an email to the administrative assistant involved in this program, Irene, and it gives the address there on the slide, which identifies in writing 3 concepts that you learned from this presentation. Can be brief, can be just bullet points. You learn this, you learn this, you learn this. But we want to make sure that you did attend the full hour and that it was a meaningful thing for you. And then finally, we ask that you submit your request for continuing education within 30 days. So best thing to do is after you finish the course, just get it done, get it off, and then we can get you the credit. But in case there is a delay, please complete it within 30 days, because last year we had some people come back 6, 8, 10 months later asking for credit, and it created some challenges. So please do this promptly. Okay, so what I want to talk about this morning is that there is a series of trainings that are going to be coming up through the Council on Quality Leadership. And that's a national organization considered to be the premier organization in developmental services. They do training, they have an accreditation program, they have a number of tools that are available. Now, if you were to take these classes through the CQL website, a typical class, you would be paying about $100 for that class. So it is to your advantage to go ahead and take it through this program. The classes can take up to 40 people. They're interactive. They are excellent, provide some really good materials. There's the one that was done earlier this month. There were some really good videos that they showed, as well as a presentation. They also provided some tools that you can use. Good stuff. So let me talk a little about the courses that are going to be offered between now and June of this year, and really encourage you to take as many as you possibly can, because this will assist you in providing good services. When the Kern Regional Center team comes out to do their evaluation of your facility, the more training you have, that's something they're going to look for, to see how much training you've done in home and community-based waiver. Plus, the training will give you the tools that you need to make sure that you are indeed not only in compliance, but doing a good job of meeting the needs of the people that you're serving. So really want to encourage you to take advantage of these classes through a generous grant that the Bakersfield Association received. These courses are available to you for free. They, both the Department of Developmental Services and Kern Regional Center have made this grant available. And so, to the extent that you or other staff members are available, please take these classes. The first one is on exploring the personal outcome measure, which is sometimes referred to as the POM, P-O-M. And that's a person-centered discovery tool to explore the importance, achievements of personally defined outcomes, along with the supports that help people obtain their individual goals and dreams. Through the POM, people receive services share that really matter to them, including their hopes and aspirations. Organizations can then use that information to evaluate the quality of their services, become more responsive, and improve the quality of people's lives. Now, this is the introduction to the POM. It is a very comprehensive tool. I'm going to be, one of the other slides, I'll be giving you some more information specifically to that, but it's a 5-day tool. In March, we are going to be having a training where there will be 12 available places for people to take the training. It's a week-long training. And I think, Valerie, what are we up to, 9 now? Yeah, so we have Yeah, so we have 3 spots left for people who would like to get involved with this week-long training. It's excellent training. You spend 3 days in the classroom, 2 days working with clients at your facility where you are doing in-depth work on using the tool. So, oops, so on the 30th, it's the introduction, and this is the website that it's available at. If you have my newsletter for January, all these addresses are available. We will be sending them out again Bakersfield ARC will be sending them out again as a blast in the next day or two. And if not, you can call Irene or Valerie and they can get you the information. You sign on, you register through CQL, but again, it's free of charge. And so on January 30th at 9 to 1, they will be having the introduction to the personal outcomes measure. On the 31st, I will be doing a training specifically on health and safety using one of their other one of the other CQL tools. And the one I'll be using that day is one called, I don't know if you can see this very well, but it's called Basic Assurances. And that's another tool that the CQL uses. And so I'm going to be doing training on health and safety using the Basic Assurances tool. Next, this will be offered twice, and both in February and again in June. And I would really, really strongly encourage you to take this one. If you go and look at the underlying assumptions or the foundation of what home and community-based waiver, HCBS, is all about, it's about person-centered planning and person-centered thinking. So the concept is that people should be able to make decisions about their own lives, about what they want to do, that they could to accomplish their hopes and dreams. So if someone is living in your facility, they should have choices about what they do, how they do their have their rooms set up, how places they go, what activities are involved with. We're having privacy and dignity. There's a number of things that the rules for home and community-based waiver really stress. And again, it starts with person-centered thinking. So if you recognize the importance of people receiving services being the driving force in their lives, so again, that's what it's all about. They're getting services because they are in need of services. You're ready for this journey in this training, Principles of Person-Centered Thinking. Attendees will explore the values of person-centeredness and learn strategies to put that thinking into practice. You will gain an in-depth understanding of person-centered thinking, the impact it has on cultural changes, and the benefits for people with developmental disabilities receiving services. We'll share philosophies, engage in activities, spark ideas, answer questions, and more. We'll leave with specific tactics and action steps you can implement at your organization, at your home. So this one is coming up on February 15th, and then it will be repeated on June 25th. So I would really encourage you to attend it, and then to have, if you have other staff or you have friends or colleagues that you work with in the field, to have them also take this training on one of those 2 dates. And again, in the highlighted blue is the web address that you go to register for the class. You register through CQL, but again, it's free of charge. That it should be working. I'm getting a flashing on my screen saying poor network connection. Is everything okay? Can you hear me? And it's
We can hear
I'm
you.
doing well.
Once in a while, you do go in and out, but
Okay, great.
if you need to
Okay, well that's what they
if you need to shut off your
that
video,
poor network connection it was saying. Okay,
maybe
hopefully
cut off
we won't.
your video, it might help.
I may need to. Yeah. All right, let me do that. People really didn't want to see me anyway. The okay. Okay. Then the next one is also in February, and then is going to be repeated in May, and it's everyone has rights. Voting, practicing religion, access to food, receiving a fair wage, having privacy, voicing opinions. They're all rights that all of us have. Despite this, personal outcome measure data reveals that only 43.5% of people with disabilities receive organizational supports to exercise these rights. So that means less than half of the individuals that are served, and this is throughout the country, are receiving their full rights. And so support to exercise their rights during the training titled Everyone Has Rights, attendees will gain insight into better understanding people's rights and supporting people in protecting and promoting their rights. Another really big major underpinning of the home and community-based waiver is that clients have a right to decision making, a right, as it states here, vote, practice religion, access food, receive a fair wage. The story that I often tell is that years ago I had a client move into a small family care home, and the provider told him that on Sunday mornings the group went to church and everybody went to her church, so that that's where they did on Sunday morning. Well, this one particular client said, I'm not of that faith. It's not what really I'm all about. And I would like to go to a different church. Well, the provider says, well, that's not really possible because everybody who resides here goes to the faith-based service that we provide here at our home. So anyways, what we did was we ended up working with uh, a church of that person's faith that was nearby and got the minister to get one of the congregants to come and pick up this individual on Sunday mornings, take him to the service, and then bring him home. Well, over time, he really got to know that family. He got to know others in that particular congregation and became part of that community. And so, where the provider and the other residents went off to one service on Sunday morning, this individual went to the service of his choice. So, we really want to try to encourage that in our training. So, again, February 22nd and May 14th, that will be training on rights. Whoops. Moving on, March 4th through the 8th is the PALM training. Again, if you are interested in this, talk to Valerie or put something in the chat. There only are 3 slots left for this year. We're looking at the idea of doing more of them in next year's continuation of this grant. But for right now, we're testing it out. We're kind of test piloting it, see what the interest is. And it's a very comprehensive training program. Valerie, you want to talk about it for a few minutes here?
Sure. And just so you all know as well, for the PALM workshop, because we are hosting it, it will go directly through either myself or Irene. I'll put that in the chat box here soon in order to get a hold of us. So it's going to be 5 days. You do 3 days. It will be every other day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to do extensive training. We're going to help you understand how to use the PALM tools, what they're specifically used for, what kind of insight you can also get out of it. And then on your in between the middle ones that you're not going to physically be in there with the training, you're going to be doing interviews. It's going to be an individual that you serve, as well as their direct care staff. So with that individual You're going to ask them questions, and it helps you to really dive into their life a little more than you think you are. It helps you to get to know them better, their understand their well-being, what they want for themselves, their futures. Also, it gives opportunities to, if things come up, you're able to say, hey, I just talked with so and so and I got an in-depth look at what they want out of their life and in their life, and they would be a great person for this. There's an opportunity, and you can present those things to them because they have lives just like we do. We want to feel fulfilled in the things that we do. So in that case, you want to make sure we're putting them in the right direction instead of just putting them in line with everybody else. So it really helps you get in depth, not only to know the person and understand them more, but also the direct staff that works with them. What do they need to be doing that maybe they're not doing or they don't realize that they're doing? And then sometimes we think these individuals, they're known by their staff very well, but then we kind of see where we may be missing the mark, or what can we do for that direct staff to help them get to know this individual better so it will benefit their lives. So I feel like it's a great training. I learned a lot from it, specifically. And, I feel like it really helps our relationship with the individuals that we serve because they feel more, I got out of it as they felt more like we really care about their lives because we in all honesty we do care about their lives, but if we're not asking the right questions to get the right motive out of it, then it just kind of doesn't mean nothing. So it really does help, really does assist. So like I said, if anybody's interested, I will be putting emails in the chat soon so you can get a hold of either myself or Irene.
Yeah, again, only 3 available spaces left for this training. If you do decide you're going to do this training, you do have to make the commitment of the 5 days. So I know that's very difficult for many of you, especially if you're a small family provider who and don't have a lot of backup. But if you take this training and you implement it, you will find that doing home and community-based waiver is second nature, because although this training was developed separately from home and community-based waiver, the philosophy, the technique, the standards meet all of the home and community-based waiver standards. So excellent training. Will probably be available again next year as well. So if you can't make this one, we should be, we don't, with the state budget and everything, we don't know all the specifics, but at this point we anticipate that we will be able to offer it again in the future. Then come March 29th or 28th, excuse me, from again, all these trainings are from 9 to 1. So it's a 4-hour commitment that you make. There are breaks during the 4 hours. When working to provide individualized support for each person, it's critical that we can interact with the person effectively, whether it's verbal, nonverbal, visual, or written. Everyone communicates. The challenge can be in identifying individual communication preferences and styles, and then embracing that medium or method so you can improve services. In this training titled Exploring Communications, participants will learn about discovering, understanding, and engaging people through various forms of communication so that they can better support people with disabilities who receive services. Now, one of the things that I have oftentimes heard from folks is, okay, well, as we attempt to talk with our individuals that we serve about their needs, Susie's not that communicative. Her cognitive levels are such that she doesn't really understand the questions that we're asking and what have you. And that's sort of not really the case. I mean, everybody communicates, and it's a matter of figuring out how that individual communicates and what what they enjoy. And if you've been providing services for some time, you probably know what seems to upset the individual you work with, what seems to make them happy, and that's really where we want to focus is on doing that. Um, I sometimes tell people that when I do behavioral interventions for folks, I look at behavior being one of two things: either that you want to get something or that you want to get away from something. So if you look at that as what behavior is all about, how do we get it so that people get what they want? Now, one of the slides that the CQL folks showed earlier this month in a training that they did on dignity of risk was that people who are getting good communication, that are getting their hopes and dreams met, that it's people are focusing on what's important to and what's important for, the level of challenging behavior goes down because as people are happier and more satisfied and getting their needs met, they tend to respond more positively. So really want to focus on that. Here's a good opportunity to talk, and all of these trainings are interactive. So if you have a question and you want to say, well, yes, that's great, but I have, you know, Susie, and we have these challenges for that individual. That will they will respond to that. They will help you as long as you maintain the individual's confidentiality when you're talking about them. You can share examples, and they will respond accordingly. So do encourage you to again, a very important one. This is only going to be offered once, so take advantage of it if you can. Then the 3 E's, the foundation of informed choice. Now, informed choice, we don't even necessarily think about it, but we do it all the time. So if you go to your doctor and your doctor says, wait a minute, you seem to have some high blood pressure, let's say, for example, and I would like to put you on this medication. Now, in taking this medication, there are certain side effects. You can potentially be dizzy when you first stand up. It may cause some diarrhea. It could do there are other things that could be occurring based off of taking this medication. But I think, as your physician, that the benefits of what it's going to do to your cardiovascular health is much greater than any risk that you might have from the potential side effects. And then you make a decision of, yes, indeed, I will take this medication. That is informed in consent. It's conform, and it's an informed choice. You had a choice. Doctor said you can take this medication. If you don't want to take it and continue to, experience high blood pressure, your choice. Our individuals don't always get to make a choice, and in making a choice, there's a whole process that's involved. Years ago, when I was on a team that was working towards moving people out of Porterville. It used to be called State Hospital. Now it's Developmental Center. We would go up in the early phases and we'd say to the individuals who live there, now, where would you like to live? Would you like to live in a group home, in a small family home, a foster family agency, a small family home, independent living, etc.? And the clients would look at us, and it wasn't a choice that they really knew because they'd never been exposed to any of those alternatives. So it didn't really mean a lot. So we found that by taking people out to the different facilities, have them spend a night at this facility, have them spend a night over here, did like 3 or 4 field trips, and then said, okay, so of those that you visited, which one seems to be the one that you would like to live at once you leave the Porterville Developmental Center, and gave the people a choice about where they live. But it's involved in the process. Education involves gaining new knowledge, experience, entitles to situation, encounter, exposure, including a variety of those unique circumstances. So, what we're talking about is education, sharing information about things, experiencing, giving them the opportunity to try it, and then exposing them to things. So, the program at the Bakersfield ARC, when we first started to really look at more activities that were community based rather than activities at the program site, when we asked clients, many clients really didn't have a good understanding of what was out there in the community. We'd hear things like, the local grocery store, Valley Plaza, maybe a movie theater, places that they had been. But there were many places that they had never been that they had no experience involved with. So educating people about it, experience, giving them an experience, and encountering exposure, including a variety of those unique circumstances. CQL frames this all under the 3 E's. Again, education, experience, encounter, which can provide a foundation for informed choice in looking at the food we eat, the hobbies we try out, or the people you interact with, whether you realize it or not. You're using the 3 E's. You tap into education, experience, and exposure as your keys to new things, getting out of your comfort zone and navigating the world around you. Despite the importance of the 3 E's, people with disabilities who receive services often face significant external barriers in making the decisions that impact their lives. During this training, you will find out how the 3 E's support informed choice in the lives of people you serve. So again, if we're really looking at person-centered, their choice, we need to make sure that their choice is something that they really fully understand. And this is important to you as well. And we are going to be talking at some length about in the future the dignity of risk, which is allowing people to try new things. And one of the concerns that you as a provider may have is that, okay, well, wait a minute, if I let them try new things, they may get hurt, they may be disappointed, they may be rejected, all kinds of things could happen. And especially if they're hurt, then I've got to file a special incident report, GRE, with the regional center, with licensing. People are going to come into my home. They're going to ask questions about why did I allow this to happen. And if you've really followed the 3 E's and done what you're and documented it in your person-centered plan that this is the direction that you're working with this client, that puts you in much better position to show that this is a client choice and this is direction that you were really working towards, and that things happen. You and I have accidents and have things occur to us that, spills and breakages and other things that, so it can happen to the individuals we serve as well. Person-centered thinking will be available on April 30th. And that is if you recognize the importance of people receiving services being the driving force in their lives. You're ready for this journey. Okay, so we already talked about this earlier. And so we're offering this class again in April. Then in May, we have community building connections. This one will be about, you don't typically hear people say, I'm going out to the community tonight. I mean, but we talk about community outings. We talk about, well, this program or this residential home, it goes out in the community once or twice a week. Well, that's a little bit odd. Or asked, did you hear about the community event happening this month? It's often difficult for human services organizations to truly define what is meant by community, and even more challenging to ensure that people who receive supports are actually part of the community. In this training, Community Building Connections, attendees we'll have the opportunity to explore what community is and how to support people to be not only present, but active participants in their communities of choice. This training challenges traditional concept of community identified barriers to inclusion and shares insight into overcoming those barriers. How many of you have been out and about doing business? So let's say you're shopping at the Valley Plaza and you see a group of 6 individuals going out and there's somebody following them, sort of guiding them around and stuff. And you say, "Oh, that's a group of regional center clients." I can tell by looking at that group. So that they're in the community, but they're not really involved in the community. So, are they going to, let's say, to the Gap and talking with the manager about what it takes to be hired on there? Or if I wanted a new pair of jeans, maybe talking to a sales clerk about the different options that would be available for me. So that's participating in the community. The story that I shared with you earlier about the individual who had a different congregation that they wanted to attend. Well, once that person started attending that congregation, they stayed after and went to the social hall and partaked in the refreshments and talked to people and became part of that community as well. So that's what we really want to try to stress, is not only getting people out in the community, but really getting them involved with the community. Now, once again, I'm getting that flashing thing that says poor connection. So hopefully everything is, you can hear me and we can go ahead. And then the final training that we will be offering, which everything's good. Okay, great. Final training that we'll be offering is embracing the dignity of risk. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. With any experience, there can be inherent risks involved, whether you're playing a sport, picking up a hobby, or broadening your social circle. You can fail, you can get hurt, you could be disappointed in the disability services system, which can have risk avertive approach. We don't like risk because, again, we've been sort of taught that our job is to make sure that people stay safe and are taken care of. The more paternal style practice, people with disability are often not supported to have experiences due to the perceived risk involved. So we want to try to give people the opportunity to try new things. So maybe a client wants to go out to the bike path and skate. But when they go out and do that, they fall and get a sprained ankle and then need to go to the doctor. Well, it was their choice that they wanted to go skating, and especially if you talk to them beforehand about that, there are certain risks of like falling, of other things that are involved in learning a new sport, and they agreed to it. This is what I want to do. Then that's what it's all about. The dignity of risk, that people should have the opportunity to try new things, even if there's some potential risk. But we also want to make sure that it's part of their plan, and that we've gone through the 3 E's that we talked about a few minutes ago to really reinforce that this is indeed the direction of the client in terms of what's important to them and what's important for them. Now, the wellness focus of home and community-based waiver, when we're talking about supports, we're talking about social support, which we've talked about communicating, using the resources that are available outside of your home. We also want to talk about emotional, mental, and behavioral health, that we want people to be happy and feel supported. And if there's issues of anxiety, depression, other challenges as a client, how are we addressing those? Physical health. Physical health is an extremely important area. And not only is physical health about keeping people healthy, but also preventive health. So when we are working with clients, we want to make sure that we're doing wellness checks, preventive health. So that includes for women and for men, there are specific types of uh, checkups that should occur with some frequency, especially as people get older. And we want to make sure that the clients are getting those. Years ago, when I first started, was working uh, as a case manager, service coordinator, and I went out to one home, and and there was a group of women living there, and I asked about when was the last time they were seen by a gynecologist, and the provider said, "Oh, they've never been seen by. They just go to their general doctor." And these are women that were middle aged, and so I said, "No, they need to get a wellness check for women's health," and so that we made arrangements for that. So you really want to try to focus on all these areas, and they all interact with each other. So if somebody's emotional health is somewhat challenged, that can affect sometimes their physical health or their ability to go out and utilize the community fully, or how they socialize. And so we want to work as a team and really focus on all these areas. Um, Person-centered planning in healthcare. The This will be the last item that we'll be addressing today. Our People's Person-Centered Plan (IPP) and your service plan that you do for your clients uh, include healthcare supports modified timely in a timely manner based on acute healthcare challenges. So if somebody's healthcare is changing, or their health is changing. So a client um, goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Hey, Mary's cholesterol seems to be high. Let's talk about a modified diet to try to assist her." How do we go ahead and make those plans? And do uh, DSPs recognize and promptly report physical or behavioral challenges. So, as a provider at home, if your staff or you notice that there's some sort of physical or behavioral challenge or some change that's occurring for a particular individual, how do you deal with that? Do you just say, "Oh, well, let's keep an eye on that," or do you go ahead and notify the person's physician, their case manager, maybe if they're involved with a day program, talk to the day program and say, "Hey, listen, are you having the same challenges that we're seeing here at the home?" And it's across settings. Now, one of the things I'd like to point out to you, let's see if we can get it to work. Again, technology is good if it works, but okay. On the DDS Developmental Services website. So it's dds.ca.gov. You can come to a link that is Wellness Toolkits. And the Wellness Toolkit is a number of different topics related to wellness, and they have different ones. They have ones for self-advocates, for the individuals that you serve who want to know more about healthcare, or if you're teaching people about their healthcare needs. There's one for direct support professionals. There's one for you as a vendor, although the direct support professionals and the vendors tend to be fairly similar. And then there's resources that you can use. Now, let's see if I can get in here. Okay,
I put in the chat as well for you, Jeff.
okay. So here I pulled up the one for the self advocates, and there are a number
You're not
of.
sharing that screen, by the way. You have to approve to share it.
Okay.
You're only sharing your PowerPoint slides right now.
Okay. Let me see what I can do here. Um, okay, no, I'm so, unfortunately I can't get to that. But if you go to the wellness tool at Department of Optimal Services, a link that Valerie put in the chat, you will find a number of good things. For example, on dental, on things like pneumonia, on sepsis, on a number of areas that you can use for training for your staff. There, you can also use the ones for the self-advocates to work with the people who live in your home to teach them about their health care. And again, the whole idea of people making choices about things, so that the more they understand, the better it is. Again, it's a free resource, good training tool, and I really encourage you to go ahead and use it. Now, with that, it's 11:50 or 10:55, excuse me, 56, and I want to give a couple minutes here for questions. Are there any questions or concerns that anyone would like to raise? If go ahead and open up your mic and speak up if you do have anything that you would like to share with the group or ask. Okay.
Earlier you were speaking about how you were talking about different help that each individual may need. And Nicole wanted to say about the communication side. She was working with an assistive technology center one time with a consumer, and he couldn't speak. He had bad cerebral palsy and could not use his hands at all. So the only way that they had to work with him was his eye movement. So finally, they said at 18, the consumer received a communication device, and now the consumer is talking with his family, and they can let the family know what he wants and how he feels.
Uh-huh. That's a great example. Now, for those of you who may not know, Nicole, the woman that was just speaking, is part of the Bakersfield ARC team that's involved working on HCBS, and she is available to come out to your facility to work with either your staff or with your consumers to talk about home and community-based services from a individual receiving services perspective. So Nicole has a very interesting take on living independently, getting services and supports, working in the community. So she is available, and if you're interested in having her come out and speak to you or your staff and the individuals who live in your home, just give Valerie or Irene a call or email at Bakersfield ARC, and they can go ahead and arrange a time for her to come out and
And just
do
to
that.
let everyone know, we also offer Zoom. We don't have to physically be there. I know for some it doesn't work out very well that way. So Zoom is also offered. And just, let us know if you are interested. And Nicole does use a communication device. So you also get to see how that is if you've never been around it. I think it's pretty awesome. It's able to help her and assist in conveying the message and getting everything that she has to say across. So chat in the chat box is the information. So if you're interested, go ahead and just let me or Irene know.
All right. Any last questions or anything that anybody would like to share? Again,
If you have not yet signed up for the CQL training, the introductory to the PALM, which is on the 30th, maybe it's something you'll be interested in. please sign up. Like I said, Jeff had mentioned, we have 3 more spots available. Maybe it's something you might be interested in, and hearing what they have to say on the 30th could spark that interest. So we can get you that training, because, it's a pretty expensive training, and for you to get it for free and benefit from it would be great.
Yeah, if you were to go on their website, it's $800 to take the training. And it's free through this grant. All right, well, then, and then again on the 31st, we have a webinar that's on health and safety issues as well. So there's a lot of training opportunities available to you, and we will continue to do that as part of this grant, with the whole idea of being, we want you to be successful. If at all possible, I don't want any of you to have to go through a corrective action plan or steps higher than that. We want you to be able to pass your assessment first time out and to do good things for the people that you serve. And with that, I will say goodbye for today. Take care.
Hey, Jeff,
Bye-bye.
do you want to stay on real quick? Stop the
Yes.
recording.
Okay.
I'm going to have you play with the